are talking Showdown in Manila. Now, I have got quite a lot to say about this movie. So, first of all, let's talk about its director. This is actually the directorial debut of Mark Dacascos. Mark Dacascos is actually one of my favourite action actors of all time. Now, he's not a massive name, but he has been in loads of stuff, and is a fantastic martial artist, and has been in loads of kind of like straight-to-video movies, a few kind of like higher budget ones as well. He was in kind of like TV, he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and things like that. But he's a fantastic martial artist, very charismatic, and has made some of the best movies I've enjoyed on kind of like straight-to-video. One of my favourite movies, Drive, not the Ryan Gosling one. Absolutely one of my all-time favourite movies. And here he is in this kind of directorial debut. And the mission statement, so to speak, of this film is to do an Expendables style kind of team-up movie with all of the kind of, well, not maybe not all, but a lot of the kind of the action stars of the kind of the 80s and 90s, but we're talking the kind of straight-to-video kind of action stars, which we'll come on to the cast in just a second, and do a kind of action movie. So it sounds pretty good. It probably, if you are a certain age and you're somewhat of a bit of a VHS geek like myself, then it's going to be maybe of something of interest to you. So there it is. It's actually kind of the back of this movie, and the story is a kind of set in the Philippines, and is a kind of revenge story where a woman's husband, played by Tia Carrera from Wayne's World 2, among other things, and the husband is killed by some sort of like some crime lords. And essentially she hires a group of mercenaries to get revenge. That's your basic plot. So let's talk about the movie. So I really wanted to love this movie because I love Mark Dacascos. This has got some of my favourite, well, maybe not favourite, but actors I was very fond of in the days of VHS. Don the Dragon Wilson, Cynthia Rodrock, Oliver Gruner, Matthias Hughes, to name just a few here, Casper Van Dien. So lots of kind of recognisable names if you're a fan of the kind of the lower budget action movies and science fiction movies and stuff like that. But man, did they drop the ball on this one. Sorry Mark, I love you as an actor, but maybe directing is not your bag. Just saying. This one was tough to sit through. But let's talk about any positives that we can. Okay, so first of all, the cast is great. I mean, it's so fun to see all of these kind of like names. And Mark Dacascos does have a small role as well, all in kind of one movie. And it's obviously more recent, so some of them have fared better with age than others, so we'll say. But even nonetheless, it's still kind of fun to have all of these kind of like these character actors that you would have loved if you were, you were a science fiction or action fan in the VHS days, and see them all come together. Obviously, Mark Dacascos has worked with many of these people before, which I'm assuming he's kind of, got these all together because he's friends with them. So the whole idea of that is just fun to begin with. And I've got to say, this being shot on location, and it is. In the Philippines, we do have some fantastic on-location shooting here. The kind of the final action set piece in the kind of jungle, and there are some fantastic scenery and stuff there, so that's all quite good. And there are a couple of fist fight action scenes which I thought were quite good as well. But, and here it is. So let's start. Okay. The main actor, Alexander Nevsky. He's the main character of this film, and he is this kind of ex-police officer that was kind of betrayed, and is now basically a private eye. And he's this Russian actor who I'm not familiar with, to be honest. But he's got a few credits, small roles in kind of a few action films. He was in Undisputed, I think. But he is not a good actor. And I'm being generous when I say he's not a good actor. Any scenes where there's any type of emotion, it is just nothing. There's just nothing. There's no depth to the performance. It is really just kind of like he's reading off a cue card. There's no depth to the performance, no nuance at all. So his acting was kind of bad. Well, it was really bad. I'm sorry to this guy. And I don't know why he's the kind of the main guy when you've got such other plethora of other kind of like more recognisable names here. The next biggest kind of like role is Casper Van Dien's role as this his partner ultimately, who and the running gag with him that he's just a sex addict, and you know, maybe he fares a little bit better. There are certain actors here who acting wise I felt do a little bit of a better job. I mean, some of their roles are quite small, but they've cast a lot of locals, a lot of kind of like Filipina actors here in sort of small supporting roles and stuff like that. But I've got to say, it pretty much all of the Filipino men are in kind of like, they're in like thug or low lives. All of the men are like that, and all the women seem to be prostitutes. It just seems like that's all of the roles that the kind of Filipino roles, obviously where it's filmed, are. So it makes it look like that when you go to the Philippines, it's just like all of the guys are basically low life scumbags, and all of the women are hookers or something. When we see our kind of familiar faces, even those guys who have some acting experience, it's just not good. Oliver Gruner, I think probably it is a small role, but he maybe comes across as a little bit more professional. But the thing that bugged me is that these guys have done a lot of action movies together, but it's just like really dumb things like, you know, standing out in with no cover and stuff like that, and just walking out, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, it just seems so silly. Even the older films that these guys are in, I swear weren't that kind of bad. It just seems to be the action here is terribly shot, especially the kind of the firefights and stuff like that. And all of the kind of the named actors, so to speak, are pretty much all on the good guy side. It would have been nice to have some of the more kind of named actors on the bad guy side as well, because ultimately we're just fighting a bunch of goons. There are a couple. I can never remember the guy's name. Cary, the guy who played Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat. Him and Matthias Hughes, basically, the kind of the hero bad guy, so to speak. But other than that, it's just an army of goons, and it's just not fun. It's just kind of like endless kind of like stormtrooper types, whilst all other kind of the hero characters get the kind of the action shots. It maybe would have been nice to mix them up a little bit. But the action as well is very poorly shot. The plot is God. I mean, it's just kind of, there's this weird time jump that they don't really explain, and it's incomprehensible sometimes, the plot. It's such a bad film. Man, I mean, it just seems like they've kind of filmed it without really much of a script. And I'm trying to like this film, I really am. But like, you know, I can't, because I'm such a big fan of Mark Dacascos, I just simply can't let that, unfortunately, kind of tint my view of this film. It's just a poor film. I mean, the only hook of it is just to see all these characters together on screen. And to be honest with you, they're not in the same scenes. So some of the, you know, you don't see Mark Dacascos' character, you know, interact with Oliver Gruner's character and things like that, and Matthias Hughes, and he really react, you know, has scenes with Casper Van Dien and stuff like that. So you won't even get all these people on screen at the same time, which is kind of like would have been the cool thing. We do get some, but it's just a bit of a missed opportunity. I got the feeling Mark Dacascos was probably the guy behind this and the driving force in it. I felt maybe he should have got into a producer role rather than a director, and had a bit more of a kind of a seasoned director here, because the acceptance of these poor sequences and the poor shots, I don't think would have happened as badly, at least with a somewhat of a more seasoned director. But it just seems Mark has, because he's a first-time director here, it's just kind of allowed poor sequences to be made and kind of put together and edited. And the decision to have the guy Alexander Nevsky as your main character was a really poor decision. I mean, no disrespect to that guy, but he just cannot carry a film, especially when you have such seasoned action, stars. Man, what a disappointment. I was really looking forward to this. I actually saw this on Mark Dacascos' Twitter feed. I thought I'd not heard of it before. So definitely, I'm kind of looking forward to checking it out. I've been waiting to get a copy. But what a crushing disappointment this movie was. Yeah, absolutely boring to watch. No soul to it. It's just ridiculous, and unfortunately it makes you think maybe these guys are just maybe a little bit long in the tooth now for some of these roles. And I've seen a few of these kind of like modern films with kind of these actors, and some of them can carry it off, but some of them can't. I mean, Mark Dacascos, I still think that he looks great. Oliver Greener, I think, can pull it off. Casper Van Dien, but some of them, just unfortunately time has got the better of them, and they maybe have to do some of this stuff, but it just doesn't look realistic. Crushing disappointment, this movie. I'll give this movie a 3 out of 10, only for just die-hard kind of B-movie lovers of the cinema of old. Man, what a crushing disappointment. Have you seen it? Does anyone like this movie? Please leave me a comment. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.